Good evening, hello, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 10th problem solving session for the course Municipal Solid Waste Management. The course instructor is Professor Ajay from Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Guwahati, and I am one of the TA for this course. My name is Asma Parveen, and I am a PhD scholar from IIT Kanpur. This is the 10th problem solving session. So, in the previous nine problem solving sessions, we have discussed about questions based on the lecture material, and we have also tried to solve some of the previous year questions. So, first week was about municipal solid waste. What is solid waste? What is municipal solid waste? What are its classifications? What are the parameters which we find for municipal solid waste? What are the physical parameters, chemical parameters, and what are the biological parameters? And then we have discussed about collection system for the municipal solid waste. So there was two collection system. First was the primary collection system, which comprises of collection in the households and door-to-door collection. And next was about secondary collection system, in which collection from different households to the transfer station or to the final disposal site was discussed. And then we have seen numericals based on these collection systems, like we have a collection system and other, that is the fixed container collection system. So after that, after the collection system, we have discussed about transfer stations. So in a community or locality where which is very big, and for areas where the final disposal site or processing facility is very far away, so setting a transfer station in such area is economical and convenient. So transfer stations are set, and what are the requirements for setting a transfer station? So it should not be very far away, and it should be accessible through roads and all. And after transfer station, we have seen about the physical processing of the waste, in which we do various screening, sorting, and segregation of the waste into different components like plastic, paper, and others. And then they are further sent for recycling. And then we have seen how what are the steps for plastic recycling, metal recycling, paper recycling, and others. And then we have seen lectures based on chemical processing, that was how glass is melted and how metal is melted and others. And then we have seen lectures about biological processing, that were included composting, vermicomposting, and anaerobic digestion. So composting is degradation of the organic matter, mainly the waste from the kitchen by microbes in aerobic condition. These are converted into these organic matter are fed by eaten by the microbes, and they are converted into compost, which are very rich in nutrients and very rich in carbon, which can be applied in the soil and can be used as a soil conditioner or organic compost. Then we have seen vermicomposting. So vermicomposting is something in which we add some specific worms, earthworms, which eat the organic matter, and their excreta is the compost which we get. And then we have discussed about anaerobic digestion, in which it is an anaerobic process in which the anaerobic microbes eat the organic matter, and they produce methane as a byproduct, which is have very high calorific value, and this gas can be directly used for cooking purpose if it is in if it is in high concentration in the gas which is produced, or it can be further cleaned and further modified, and then can be used for various processes. And also, one thing I forgot is that in chemical processing, we have seen about incineration, pyrolysis, and gasification. So, incineration is something in which some waste is combusted in excess supply of oxygen or air, so that the final product which we get is the is ash as a solid byproduct, and and all the organic matter is converted into carbon dioxide and vapor, along with others. During incineration, lot of contaminants is produced if the because we are combusting the solid waste, which have lot of PHAs and lot of metals and others. So toxic gases will be produced, which need to be purified before discharging in the air. And also during incineration, since it takes place at very high temperature, there is lot of heat which is generated, and this high temperature flue gas can be used they can be used in the boilers to generate steam, which can be used to run the turbines, or they can be used for heating purposes and others. And then we have seen pyrolysis, which is combustion in absence of oxygen. So pyrolysis is done if we want the bio oil. So the products of pyrolysis is char, which is the solid residue, and then we get the bio oil and the syngas. So bio oil have a high calorific value, and syngas also consists of carbon monoxide, methane, CO2, and others. So CO and methane has calorific value. So this syngas can be used for various purposes. And also we have discussed about gasification, which is combustion in limited supply of oxygen. So whatever stoichiometric oxygen is required to combust a particular compound, lesser amount of oxygen is supplied to to that reactor, and gasification takes place. And the byproduct here also is the char, bio oil, and syngas. Also, gasification and pyrolysis, especially pyrolysis, is an endothermic process because we need to supply heat for the pyrolysis process to take place, and also the syngas and bio oil which is getting produced with this can be reused. This can part of this can be used to heat the reactor to conduct pyrolysis and gasification process. So this was all about chemical processing, and then I was discussing about the biological process in which we have discussed about composting, vermicomposting, and anaerobic digestion. So after that, we have seen lectures based on landfill. This was the end of the processing, various processes for processing of the municipal solid waste. And then we have seen week 9 lecture and week 10 lecture. Both of these are on landfill. So we have seen that what are open dumping and how landfill, which is the engineered way of putting the whatever the waste that is of no use into the landfill into an engineered way. And suppose a 1,000 kg of waste is getting disposed on the landfill. So on one particular day, a cell is that much amount of solid waste which we deposit in the landfill is known as cell. It is properly shredded and it is properly compacted. So this is about landfill. So still in our country there is a lot of problem of segregation waste. So we are not getting properly segregated waste even after the Swachh Bharat mission, in which door-to-door collection is aimed was proposed, and in this also hazardous waste, wet waste, and dry waste was proposed to be collected separately, but still that much complete segregation of waste is not getting done in all the states. So the overall the waste which goes to this processing facilities is very commingled, very mixed type of waste. So it is very difficult to segregate the useful materials from these waste. So there is large amount of final waste which goes to the landfill, and finally get dumped into the landfill. It is a mixture of organic and inorganic waste. So when these waste are dumped in the landfill, so uh, with this time, the degradation of the organic matter starts, and there is lot of production of leachate and production of landfill gas, which pollutes the air and water. And also, land is a very valuable resource. It is very hard to procure, and it is because no one wants the landfill to be in near their locality. So it is very difficult to decide the area for landfill. And eventually, with time, these landfills have a waste which starts to degrade, especially after some year, of the top layers are exposed to air, so there will be anaerobic condition. But in the bottom layers, these are not exposed to air, and also since they are compacted, the airs get the oxygen get finished by some time, and anaerobic degradation starts. And during anaerobic degradation, methane is produced, which is a very potent environmental pollutant, and it leads to climate change and global warming and climate change. And also CO2 is produced, which also leads to climate change. But methane has higher potential to warm our environment as compared to CO2 in shorter term. So it is very harmful, and that's why it is required to manage the waste that is dumped into the landfill by collecting the leachate. Whatever leachate is produced and whatever gas that is produced in the landfill should be collected, and they should be either purified or then they should be further discharged into the environment. So week 10 is also about landfill. So in week 9, we have discussed about what are the landfill, what are the various types of landfill, and then we have discussed about leachate collection, which is the liquid byproduct which comes out from the landfill. Because during degradation, water is produced. So these water, along with the rainwater or also the groundwater, can percolate into the landfill, and these water is produced, which is the leachate, which has a very different and high concentration of the organic contaminants. Like it has very high COD, BOD, it has a lot of metals and other contaminants. So we have discussed about leachate collection and treatment in the previous lecture, and this lecture is about landfill gas collection. So how methane, CO2 is collected, what are its implications, and then we will next lecture. There are two lectures. The first lecture is about landfill gas collection and treatment, and the second lecture is about landfill design. So there are few numericals on this lecture which will be try to solve in the assignment part. So let me share the first lecture so that we can have a brief discussion about what was there in the that lecture. So let me share my screen. If I have stopped sharing my screen, still it's showing. Some problem. So the first lecture is about landfill gas collection and treatment. So landfill gas are governed by gas generation mechanism and gas transport mechanism. So there are three primary causes of the landfill gas generation. That is volatilization, biological decomposition, and chemical reactions. So volatilization of the organic compounds in the landfill takes place until equilibrium is reached between vapor concentration and the organic compounds. And this process enhances when biological activity increases the temperature of the waste mass, and rate at which compound volatilize depend on their physical and chemical properties. Also, Henry's law is the law which governs the concentration between the air and the concentration in the water. So it states that the determines the extent of volatilization of the contaminant dissolved in water, and the law states that the amount of any gas that will be dissolved in a given liquid of volume at constant temperature is directly proportional to the pressure that gas exerts above the liquid. So this statement is for the Henry's law. So the amount of or concentration of the uh, gas that will be dissolved in a liquid will be directly proportional to the pressure that gas exerts above that liquid. So let's move to the next lecture. So biological decomposition and chemical reaction. So basically there are four phases in the overall gas landfill gas generation. So the first phase is aerobic. because when the initially there will be air inside the pores in the between the solid waste, and slowly this air will be consumed, and during the anaerobic phase there is high concentration of nitrogen into the landfill gas, and slowly it converts to anaerobic phase, in which we can see very high concentration of carbon dioxide, and in the phase 3 there is a slowly there is increase in the concentration of methane which is getting produced. And then in the phase 5, where it almost reaches to maturation, where the all the degradation is almost complete, so there is a decrease in the carbon dioxide concentration, and then we can see a maximum amount of methane that is getting produced. And slowly, as we proceed towards anaerobic phase, the concentration of nitrogen which is getting produced decreases. So the phases of decomposition, first is the initial adjustment phase or aerobic phase. So microbial decomposition starts in anaerobic condition as a certain amount of air is trapped within the landfill. So the soil which is used in daily and final cover, this is the source of anaerobic and aerobic organisms responsible for waste decomposition. So after compacting and filling the waste in a cell, so each cell some soil cover is put so that it is the waste is not open, and it is covered, and it is not accessible for the rat pickers, for the rodents and others animals. So this soil which is put over the waste, this has lot of microbes, and these microbes have both aerobic and anaerobic organisms which are responsible for the waste decomposition. So during the initial stage, there is some air which is trapped between in the landfill, and this air is used, and in this air the organic matter is converted, and its degradation takes place. So the second phase is the acidogenic phase. In this phase, oxygen is already depleted, and anaerobic condition starts to develop. And the pH of the leachate also drops due to presence of organic acid, because in this phase, the acidogenic phase, the organic compounds are converted into long chain or short chain organic acid. So because of production of this organic acid, and also there is a production of CO2, it leads to decrease in pH. Next is the acetogenic phase, in which there is production of significant amount of organic acid. So the organic acid which was produced in the acetogenic phase, these are converted into acetic acid, and also here there is drop in the pH of the leachate, because the acetic acid is getting inside in the leachate. Because of this, the pH decreases, but COD and BOD of the leachate increases significantly, and many essential nutrients are also removed in leachate, and if the leachate is not recycled, the essential nutrients will be lost from the system. So during acetogenic phase, the leachate should be recycled before it gets to the into the next phases, otherwise the essential nutrients, that is nitrogen and others, will be lost. So then we have the phase 4, which is the methane fermentation phase, in which the organic acid and hydrogen gets converted into methane and CO2 by methanogens or methane forming microorganisms. So we have seen this in the anaerobic degradation also. So we have seen that in anaerobic degradation also, that acetic acid and gets converted into methane, and also CO2 and hydrogen gets converted into methane. So these are the two pathways through which methane is produced by methane formers. And the rate of acid formation is considerably reduced, because all the acid is getting converted into methane. Here methane formers are active, and slowly the pH of the leachate increases to around neutral value as the acids are getting converted into methane and CO2 gas. So the last phase is the maturation phase, where all the readily available organic material have already been converted into methane and CO2, and the rate of landfill gas diminishes. It gets reduced, and the principal gases evolved are methane and CO2, because all other like nitrogen, oxygen, and all gases have already been escaped, and that has been evolved. And depending upon the landfill closure measures, small amount of nitrogen and oxygen may also be there. So after all the five phases of the landfill generation, now let's discuss about what are the factors which affect landfill gas generation. So the first factor is the waste composition. Obviously, the how much and what type of gases will be evolved, that will depend upon the waste composition. How much there is organic matter, what are the various organic matters, and what are the various inorganic components in the waste. So all this will determine how much of the and landfill gas will be generated. Next is the temperature. So as we know, if the temperature is higher, like it is around more than 20 degrees centigrade, 20 30 degrees centigrade, then degradation will be faster as compared to lower temperature, that is 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. And so landfill gas generation will be more. So depending upon the temperature also, the landfill gas generation will depend. Next is the moisture. So we have seen also in the previous lectures that moisture is very important for the biological degradation or decomposition to take place, because the aerobic and anaerobic microorganisms, they need certain amount of moisture to sustain, to survive in the waste or in any medium. So moisture is very important. So also we have seen in the last week that leachate is recirculated in the landfill in US and other countries for maintaining the optimum moisture content for the microorganisms to grow and survive. So moisture is very important. Next is the pH. So pH is also one of the factor. We have seen that if their pH will be very acidic, then methane formers cannot survive, and if the pH is very alkaline, then various microorganisms will not survive and degradation process will be very affected. So pH is very important. It should be around neutral pH, and depending on the various phases, the pH changes. Next is the atmospheric condition. Obviously, the landfill generation, gas generation will depend upon the atmospheric conditions. What are the atmospheric pressure? What is the temperature and others? Next is the landfill cover. So the soil or material which is used to cover each cell at the end of the day, that has various types of microbes, that is anaerobic microbes and aerobic microbes. And in each category of aerobic and anaerobic microorganisms, there are various types of microorganisms, various strains of microorganisms. So landfill cover will also cover what type of landfill gas will be generated. Next is the waste density and wastage. So it will also govern this, how much of the landfill gas will be generated. And waste is, if the waste is new, it is not very old, then the landfill gas generation will be high, and if and slowly it will decrease. So the transport mechanism for the landfill gas is through either through diffusion or advection. So diffusion is governed by the gradient or the difference in the concentration. So in diffusion, the gas will flow from the from the region of higher concentration to the lower concentration. So so the concentration gradient between the surface and interior of the landfill, and thus promotes the migration of vapors to the surface, because inside the landfill there will be higher concentration of these gases, and outer on the outer surfaces there will be lower concentration. So there is movement or migration of vapors to the surface, and from that they escape into the atmosphere. Or the geomembranes, which is applied at the bottom for lining of the soil or ground, so that leachate and landfill gas do not get inside the groundwater. So these geomembranes will also reduce the diffusion, because geomembrane prevent gases from diffusing to the atmosphere. Next mechanism is advection. So advection is generally governed by pressure. So in advection, the gases will flow from higher pressure to lower pressure regions, and and generally inside the landfill, the gas pressure will be high as compared to the atmospheric pressure, and that's why there will be movement of gases from the inside the landfill to the outer surfaces. Next is permeability. If there will be higher permeability, so obviously there will be more movement of the landfill gases. Next is the geological conditions, and next is the depth of groundwater. So, So how much deeper is the groundwater also govern the landfill gas generation? There are some man-made features like underground utilities such as storm and station sanitary sewers or the backfill that surround those features may produce short circuiting of airflow associated with an active landfill gas collection. So there can be a lot of amount of gases coming to the atmosphere. Next is the land cover and liners. They prevent the gas to percolate into the ground and soil. And next is the barometric pressure. So how much the atmospheric pressure is changing, that will also govern the landfill gas generation and escape into the atmosphere. So here the table is shown which shows the impacts and relevance and trends of gas-based emission from landfills. So mainly carbon dioxide and methane are the major gases which are produced. And we can see that carbon dioxide has a uh, increasing trend of emission, and it has very high relevance with respect to global warming. So here for other gases is shown. Next is the design of landfill gas system. Like the design for leachate collection system, there is proper design for landfill gas system. So first is the gas wells. So in gas wells, the gas from the from different parts of the landfill is getting collected into gas wells. So the performance quotient for wells are they should have large dia. They can be vertical or they can be horizontal. There should be capping, temporary or permanent capping. So these capping keeps out water and air and keeps in gases and odors. Next is a side lining to contain waste, leachate and gases. So these are the gas wells which have been shown. So next is the optimizing well operation. So minimize the gas velocity, maximize effective length and provide contingency measures. Next is designing of the pipe work. So the typical landfill gas typical pipes are 6 bar, they are designed for 6 bar pressure. And during the gas flow, there will always be pressure, always gives pressure losses, and the loss is calculated using this formula. Next is the gas collection system. So there is passive gas collection system that can be installed during active operation of the landfill or after closure. So this can be installed after closure, or it can be installed during the active operation. So the collection wells are typically constructed of perforated or slotted plastic and are insulated, installed vertically throughout the landfill to depth ranging from 50 to 90% of the waste thickness. In these wells, gas is collected. So the wells can be horizontal, located below the ground surface to serve as conduits for gas movement within the landfill. And the active system include vertical and horizontal gas collection wells similar to passive collection system. So these wells in active system should have valves to regulate gas flow and to serve as a sampling port. So the sampling allows the system operator to measure the gas generation, what are the composition in the gas, what is its pressure, what is where vacuum or pumps to move out the gas of the landfill, and the size, type and number of vacuums required. So how is an effective active gas system designed? So to design effective active gas system design, we following elements are considered. First is the gas moving equipment. Next is the gas collection wells. So the wells are placed to capture gas from all areas of the landfill, and number and spacing between each extraction wells it depend upon following, like it depend upon waste type, what is the depth, compaction, pressure and moisture. And the ability to monitor and adjust flow from individual extraction wells, it depends upon well pressure gauge, condenser, sampling port. All these are are there in the extraction wells for monitoring and adjusting the for monitoring the gas and adjusting its flow. So here, collection elements of a landfill gas extraction installation is shown. So here we can see that these circles are the extraction wells, which are connected with the lateral pipings, and these pipings are connected with a main collector pipe or header pipe. So first is the collective headers. These are the individual wells, and horizontal headers are connected to the main headers, which supply gas to the collection station. Gas extraction wells are linked to several collective headers of 100 to 160 dia. So the gas collection station comprises of the following. So it consists of central collector connected to pipeline to transport gas off the landfill. Next is the blower, filters, reservoirs, instruments for control of gas, and measuring and control equipment. So next is why it is important to to monitor the emissions in landfill. So the landfill gas control system. There should be proper control of what type of gas is getting emitted. So next is how to determine the general composition and volume of the gas which is generated over time. And next, it is required to check the feasibility whether this landfill gas which is generated that can be recovered and reused for energy production. So the monitoring of gases that originate from landfill fall into five categories. So the first monitoring is soil gas monitoring. Next is the near surface gas monitoring. Next is emission monitoring. Fourth is ambient air monitoring and indoor air monitoring. So there are five different categories that are overall involved in the monitoring of gas that originate from landfill. So each category is discussed separately. Please go through these into the lecture. So next is the measurement of methane. So there are different ways to measure the methane which is produced. So these are the flux chamber testing, plume measurement, and dispersion modeling. Please go through these into the lecture slides. So here some of the models are discussed through which uh, the landfill gas, how much it will be generated with time, and depending upon what is the how much amount of waste is put on that, all this is taken consider, and the various models are generated which predict the amount of gas will be generated over time. So these are the models. Please go through these in the lecture slides. So now let's discuss about landfill gas contaminants and their removal. So the landfill gas treatment consists of two stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is the primary treatment. It consists of removal of solid and liquid and gas time. And the stage 2 is the advanced treatment, which consists of desulfurization, removal of organic silicon compounds, and removal of other gaseous compounds. Primary treatment for the landfill gas contaminant removal, it consists of removal of solid contaminants, liquid, and it consists of the removal of solid and liquids and gas time. So the main contaminants which are removed are water, that is the liquid, and particulate, that is the solid components. So the method can be water or condensate knockout. So the presence of liquid water in landfill gas pipeline can have a detrimental effect on plant performance. So accumulation of water reduces the space available for gas flow and raises the pressure loss. So depending on the source of the gas and application or proposed use of the treated landfill gas, three components can be treated. So first is the liquid water capture, next is the foam removal, and last is the vapor reduction. So all these three are done to remove the water from the gases. Next is the siloxane removal. So in landfill, what happens? Low molecular weight siloxane, they volatilize into landfill gases. And when this gas is combusted to generate power, siloxanes are converted into silicon dioxide, which deposit on in the combustion and exhaust stages of the equipment. So the key methods used for siloxane removal are adsorption on activated coal, adsorption in a liquid hydrocarbon mixture, or gas cooling with concurrent water knockout. So these three methods are used for removal of siloxane. So next are the advanced treatment. So advanced treatment can be defined collectively as secondary treatment in which remove generated emission like hydrogen sulfide, siloxane, ammonia, aromatic hydrocarbons, and halogen. So all these are removed in the advanced treatment. So first is the hydrogen sulfide removal. So H2S is extremely toxic and flammable gas, and it has very pungent smell. And under temperature, hydrogen sulfide, they react with steam to produce sulfuric acid, and this has a significant effect on the useful life of a uh, LFG plant, that is landfill gas plant. So H2S removal is very important. So there are different methods which are being shown for desulfurization. So there can be biological desulfurization, treatment with iron chloride, water washing in which H2S will dissolve in the water and will get removed out, activated carbon that will get absorption. Next is iron oxide or hydroxide can be used, and sodium hydroxide can be used. So for other landfill gas contaminants like ammonia, aromatic hydrocarbons, halogens, so these are generally at a lower concentration. Uh, and if the concentration of ammonia is below zero point 0.1 milligram per meter cube, or aromatic hydrocarbons is below 1 milligram per meter cube, and halogens is below zero point 0.1 milligram per meter cube, then there is no need for treatment. So this gas can be used without any additional treatment. So only primary treatment will be required. So the landfill gas energy technologies. So we can utilize the landfill gas by boilers in which this LFG can be used along with fossil fuels, or it can directly use alone to produce electricity. Next is that we can use these landfill gas directly into the thermal application, like we can use in kilns, in which these kilns are used to heat for making bricks and cement, or we can use for drying sludge, or you can use in the various type of furnaces and other. So also we use this LFG to evaporate leachate so that water gets escape out, and that's why the amount of leachate that will be needed for treatment will get reduced, and that this will reduce the overall cost for the treatment, and also it will reduce the amount of leachate that will be required for disposal. So next is the biomethane production. So the landfill gas consists of different components. It consists of methane, CO2, and other contaminants. So biomethane can be made by refining of the this landfill gas. So biomethane is a gaseous fuel with physico-chemical properties similar to those of the natural gas, which make it possible to inject it into the gas grid. So biomethane has properties similar to the natural gas, and the landfill gas which is produced, that can be converted or upgraded to biomethane by removing the CO2 and the trace concentration of contaminants like ammonia and aromatic hydrocarbons, H2S, and others. So the technologies used for removing the CO2 are like pressure swing absorption, physical and chemical absorption, membrane separation, and cryogenic treatment. So all this treatment can be used to remove CO2 from landfill gas. So all the treatment processes are discussed separately. So please go through these into the lecture slides. So why we need to remove landfill? Why we reasons for landfill gas control? Why we need to control these? So the very first requirement is that we need to monitor and control the landfill gas generation to prevent air pollution, because we know there is a lot of aromatic hydrocarbons, methane and CO2, which can escape out into the atmosphere. They can contaminate the atmosphere. Next is to reduce hazards due to off-site migration. So these can also get these gases can come into the atmosphere and they can migrate to the nearby places. Next is prevent damage to the landfill cover slope stability. And fourth one is to control the odor, because gases like hydrogen sulfide and ammonia has very pungent and bad smell. And last one is the energy recovery and prevent vegetation distress. So the methane, which is produced, is having a high calorific value, so this can be used to produce energy. So this was all about landfill gas generation and treatment. Let's move to the second lecture, which is about the design of landfills. So there are few, I think, 2 to 3 numericals. We will discuss these numericals in the questions part. So the second in the second lecture after the numerical, there is some theory. So the major challenges of solid waste management in cities and towns are that managing the continuous flow of solid waste on a daily basis. I think the screen is not visible. Next is dealing with the legacy of neglect, which has resulted in garbage heaps having been built up at dump site that were meant for processing, waste processing and landfill. So the two major problems is that for management of continuous flow of solid waste on daily basis, because this will be generated on daily basis and they need to be managed and disposed of at landfill. Next is that the waste which the valuable things in the waste which were meant for recycling and reuse, that are not effectively done, and they finally land in the landfill. So there is a requirement to deal with this. And next is the site of the landfill, which were earlier located at outside of the cities, but due to expansion of the cities, there these landfills are now in the center of the cities. So management of these landfill is very very important, because first, so management of these landfills are very important, because they are at the center of the city. So there can be lot of pollution and environmental implication and health hazards. So these landfills need to be monitored and managed. And also landfill sites generate methane, which is a greenhouse gas, and other landfill gases which contributes to global warming. So it is very important to manage these gases. Also, many municipal authorities across the country are opting for capping as a solution to the legacy of the mixed waste, which is not the first option in the order of priority for environmentally safe legacy waste management. So, in capping, these waste areas will be covered, and this is not one of the topmost option to opt for, as per the clause of the solid waste management rules. So, the The Government of India has notified the Solid Waste Management Rule 2016 for proper and effective management of solid waste. Under this rule, following provisions have been made to manage old dumps of municipal solid waste. So, Rule 15 says that duties and responsibilities of local authorities and village panchayats of census towns and urban agglomeration. So, the local authorities and panchayats shall investigate and analyze all open dump sites and existing operational dump sites for their potential of biomining and bioremediation, and whatso feasible take necessary actions to biomine or bioremediate the sites. So the old land old open dump sites. So these should be managed either by biommining or bioremediation. In absence of potential of biomining and bioremediation, it shall be scientifically capped as per landfill capping norms to prevent further damage to the environment. And if biommining and bioremediation is not possible, then capping can be opted. The bylaws shall apply to every urban local body, outgrowth in urban agglomeration, containment boards, panchayat, industrial and institutional townships, railways, and defense establishments. So these laws apply to all these uh, urban local bodies or to all the institutions. So, bioremediation and biomining of old municipal dump site are done by first mining of the legacy waste is done, then stabilizing waste, biocultures and bioculture, that is microbes are added, then waste are screened into various particles. So, greater than 150 mm, this can be used. This has bricks, coconut shell, footwears, and others, and this can be separated by density separator. And the particles between 80 to 30 mm, this can be recycled, and it can be used for making roads. And the particle between 4 to 6, they are good bio earth, so these can be used for soil conditioning or can be given to farmers. So the various processing equipments of legacy waste, first is screening. So in screening, trommels, vibratory screen or disc or star screens can be used. Then is the handling equipments, various handling like loaders, conveyor belts, forklifts, all these are required. So this is the so we need to make windrows. So like the windrows we have seen in the composting, so similar windrows is required to made, and in these windrows, cow dung is added and also water is sprayed. And it is like in composting, turning was required between 2 to 3 days. So similar here, turning is required, and after 20 days, screening is done to separate the fines, and they are used. So the solid waste dump which have reached their full capacity, or those which will not receive additional waste from setting up of new and properly designed landfills, should be closed and rehabilitated by examining the following options. So the solid waste which are already fully occupied, and there will no waste will be added, so they need to be closed. And first reduction of waste by biomining and waste processing, followed by placement of residues in new landfill. So the already waste which have been dumped, that should be biomined and processed, and the residues should be placed in the new landfills. And capping should be done to enable. So the capping should be done if the binding by using geomembranes and others. So also additional measures like cut-off walls and extraction wells for pumping and treating contaminated groundwater. So should also be done for closure and rehabilitation of old dumps. So here we can see that this is the dump site. Here the excavation of the waste is done, and then it will be used for biomining. So hand picking of the large objects is done, and then we can see that the waste is arranged in these windrows. So these windrows are mixed and every 2 to 3 days, and after 20 days they are screened and final particle are removed and larger are further processed. So these are the trommels, conveyor belt, and others which are used for screening of the old waste. So the fine fraction waste or the use of screen fraction, the after screening whatever the fines we are getting, they can be used. So they can be used for industries, like they can be used as solid fuel. They can be used in making plastic roads. They can be used. So if there is some valuable things in that, so they can be sell to the kawadi walas, which will further send it to the sell it to the industries where they can process. So also transporters identify transporters who can transport different fractions out on their return trips. And for the bio or good earth finest fraction, test periodically for heavy metals. If there is no heavy metals, then farmers can be approached who are willing to take these or purchase this to apply in their farms. So for the management of the old dump landfills or the dump site, so first we need to manage the space. Space is very important, and also these dump sites are now in the middle of the city, so there is a lot of congestion because already the human settlement has extended near to the landfill site. So uh, space management is very, very important. Then next is the leachate management. So when these older legacy waste heaps are open, so there are chances that some leachate will always produce and it will comes out. So this is very important. And next is the fire control and safety. So methane, that is itself is a very flammable gas. So if these legacy waste heaps are open, so there is chances that it can catch fire. So proper fire control and safety should be there at while the mining of these waste. So let's discuss about some case studies on biomining in India. So this is about Indore. Indore is the cleanest city with respect to solid municipal solid waste management. So here, 100-acre dump site in Guradia was home for 15 lakh metric tons of legacy waste that was there accumulated over decades. So this waste was treated in time of 3 years. So here we can see that there was a heap of lot of waste there, and after within 3 years, this area land is clear and it can be used for further processes. So next is in the bio mining of Kumbakonam, Tamil Nadu. So here also, so in this out of the 7.5 acres old dump site with garbage, more than 5 acres have been already been reclaimed. And the plan achieves 0% reject, which means none of the aggregates are considered reject and dumped back into the sanitary landfill. So the very important thing is here that there was 0% reject from the mining. So biomining, it means not even nothing is going for dumping into the sanitary landfills. So here we can see that here it was a waste heap. Now the land is clear. So this was all about week 10 lecture material. So first lecture was about landfill gas collection and its treatment. And the second lecture is based on landfill design, and there are few numericals. And then we have seen about how to manage the legacy waste through biomining and bioremediation. And we have discussed also case studies from Indore and Tamil Nadu. So now let's move to the question part. So So let me share my screen for the questions. So these questions are based on the lecture material, and also I think there is 2 to 3 numericals. So these numericals are also based on the second lecture of week 10. So the first question is, in which of the phases COD and BOD of the leachate increases? A aerobic phase, acetogenic phase, methane fermentation phase, or dematuration phase. So out of all the 5 phases, in which phase the BOD and COD of the leachate starts to increase? So I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat box, and then we will see which one is the correct. So, so the COD and BOD of the leachate increases in the acetogenic phase, in which the long chain organic acids are converted into acetic acid. So in this phase, COD and BOD of the leachate increases. So C is the correct answer. Also, this is the phase in which most of the nutrients can be recovered and removed from the. So in this phase, a lot of essential nutrients are removed in leachate. So this is the phase in which these nutrients should be recycled and recovered before it is lost. So C is the correct answer. Next question is, in which of the phases pH of the leachate increases to neutral? A aerobic phase, C acetogenic phase, C acetogenic phase, D methane fermentation phase, or D E maturation phase. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time, write the option in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So during the during the acidogenic phase, there is a production of lot of organic acids. Because of that, the pH of the leachate decreases. But when it goes to the fourth phase, that is the methane fermentation phase, the organic acid which was produced gets converted into acetic acid into the acetogenic phase. And when it comes to the methane fermentation phase, these acetic acids are getting converted into methane gas. That's why these acids are getting consumed, and the pH of the leachate slowly increases and reaches to the neutral pH. So D will be the correct answer, that in the methane fermentation phase, the pH of the leachate increases to neutral. So now let's move to the next question. The question is, which of the following factors affect landfill gas generation? A. Moisture, B. Atmospheric conditions, C. Landfill cover, D. Waste age, or E. All of the above. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So the landfill gas generation depends on all the given factors like moisture. So optimum moisture is required for the microbes to grow. So if there will be very less moisture content, then the microbes will not be able to survive, and eventually the landfill gas generation will be not that much high. So minimum moisture content is required for survival of the microbes. So next is the atmospheric conditions. So the conditions like P pressure, P temperature, all these affect the landfill gas generation. So if uh, the temperature will be very high, like it will be more than 30-35 degrees centigrade, then the degradation process will be faster and a lot of gas will be generated, and vice versa. Next is the landfill cover. So the landfill cover is the nearby soil, or it can be some compost which can be used for landfill cover. So they are very rich in microbes, both aerobic and anaerobic microbes. So these help in the degradation of the waste, and it will eventually affect the landfill gas generation. Next is the waste age. So the newer, with time, the landfill gas generation increases and slowly it decreases as the waste gets totally degraded and it gets matured. So landfill gas generation depends on waste age also. So all of the above, that option E will be the correct option. So now let's move to the fourth question. So the question is, four ways to measure landfill methane directly are: A, flux chamber testing; B, plume measurement; or C, dispersion modeling. So only three methods are given. So, or D, all of the above. So we have to find out which of the following methods are used to measure the landfill methane gas. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat. So all the method, that is the flex chamber testing, plume measurement, and dispersion modeling, all these are used to measure the landfill methane. So all of the above is the correct answer. So D will be the correct answer. So let's move to the next question. The question is, the treatment of landfill leachate consists of or comprised of primary treatment, B. Desulfurization. C. Removal of organic silicon compounds. Or D. All of the above. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat. So the treatment of landfill leachate consists of two treatments. That was the primary treatment and secondary treatment or the advanced treatment. So basically the primary fibers sharing is okay. So this is not for the landfill leachate. Basically, it is for the landfill gas So the landfill gas consists of primary treatment in which basically there is removal of water and particulates from the gas. And next is the advanced treatment in which desulfurization is done and then the removal of organic silicon compounds is done. So all of the above will be the correct answer. So then all these treatments are done for the landfill gas. So let's move to the next question. So the question is main contaminants removed in primary treatment for landfill gas are A water, B particulates, C both A and B or D none of the above. So again I'll give you 2 minutes, just take your time, write the option in the chat box and then we will discuss. So the main contaminants which are removed in the primary treatment from the landfill gas are water and particulates. Basically, water molecules and the particulate, that is the solid particles, are removed from the landfill gas in the primary treatment. So C will be the correct answer, that both A and B are removed from the landfill gas in primary treatment. So let's move to the next question. The question is the key methods used for siloxane removal are A. Adsorption on activated coal, B. Adsorption in a liquid hydrocarbon mixture, C. Gas cooling with concurrent water knockout, or D. All of the above. So we have seen this in the what are the methods which are used for siloxane removal into the lecture slide. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat box, and then we will discuss which one is the correct. So the methods which are used for siloxane removal from the landfill gas are a both all the three are correct option, that all these three are used for removal of siloxane. So that is these are removed by getting adsorbed on activated coal, or it is getting removed by adsorbed in liquid hydrocarbon mixture, and it is also gets removed by gas cooling with concurrent water knockout. So all these three methods are removed for used for siloxane removal from the landfill gas. So D is the correct answer. All of the above. So let's move to the next question. So the question is, the common reasons for controlling the gas produced by a landfill are, so just ignore this one. So the common reasons for controlling the gas production by a landfill are: A, to reduce the hazards due to off-site migration; B, for odor control; C, energy recovery; or D, prevent air pollution. So we have to find out what of which of the following reasons are for controlling the gas produced by a landfill. So which of the following reasons are considered for controlling the gas produced by a landfill? So again, I'll give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option in the chat box. So the reasons for controlling the gas produced by a landfill are: first, it is done to reduce the hazards which will get migrated to the nearby places, because these gases goes along with the air in the direction of the wind. So this first is to reduce the hazards due to off-site migration, because these gases will pollute the surrounding air, and it will be hazardous for the living beings living in that area, because there is lot of contaminants in this landfill gas. Next is gases like hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. Especially hydrogen sulfide is a very pungent smelling gas. So the landfill gas production control is required also to control the odor problem. Next is the energy recovery. So the landfill gas consists of methane, which have very high calorific value, and this can be used after refining to make the to be used into the boilers for making steam to run the turbines and produce electricity, or it can be used in the industries to heat where heating where fossil fuel or something is required to produce energy, where methane can be used, and there can be various other uses of the methane. So energy can be recovered from these landfill gas. Next is these landfill gas consist of methane, CO2, and also a lot of aromatic hydrocarbons and other contaminants which are very harmful for the humans and other living beings. So this control of the landfill gas is also required to prevent the air pollution which can be due to the migration of these produced landfill gas into the nearby atmosphere. So all of the four options are correct. So all these four reasons are all these four are the common reasons for controlling the gas produced by a landfill. So now let's move to the next question. Okay. So this is a numerical type question. So the question is, estimate the required landfill area for a community with a population of 30,000, assuming the following conditions. A, solid waste generation is 2.9 kg per capita per day. Next assumption is compacted specific weight of solid waste in landfill is 475 kilogram per meter cube, and average depth of the compacted solid waste is 6 meter. So we have to determine the we have to eventually determine the landfill area, but I have divided the question into parts. So first we will determine the daily solid waste generation rate in ton per day, and in the next question we will find out how much land area is required. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and find the solution for this question and write the value which you are getting into the chat box. Okay. So first we have to find out the solid waste generation rate in tons per day. So it is given that solid waste generation per capita is 2.9 kg per day. Compacted specific weight is given and area is height is given. So height will be required in calculating the area. So let's find out the generation rate. So we will see how much is the solid waste generation per capita. It is 2.9 kg per capita per day. So next we will multiply it by the number of uh, uh, person which will be served per day. So it is 31,000. So this is the population which is to be served. And we have been given how much solid waste will be generated by a single person in one day, that is 2 per kg per day. So next we have to, so this will be kg per day, but we have to find out the generation rate in tons per day. So we will divide it by 1000 to convert the kg into thousand. So after solving it, we will get 89.9 tons per day. So this much of the waste will be generated in one day. That is 89.9 tons. So it was a very simple question. Like we have been given the per capita solid waste generation. By multiplying it with the population size, we can find out what will be the generation rate of the solid waste per day. So now let's move to the second part of the question. In finding out the landfill area required, we have to find out the how much area will be required to serve for the landfill. So again, I will give you 2 minutes. Just take your time and write the option. So try to solve this question and write the value which you are getting, and then we will try to solve. So let's see how to find out the required landfill area. So we have seen in the last question how much of the solid waste is generated per day. It was 89.9 tons per day. So we will find out the how much volume of the waste will be generated per day. Or we can say like this way, like how much of the volume of the solid waste is required to be put in the landfill per day. So we have around 89.9 tons generated per day. To convert it into thousand, we will multiply by thousand, so it will be kg. And we have been given the compacted specific weight, which is 475 kg per meter cube. So after solving this, we will get 190 meter cube per day. So this much. So someone has raised. So Abhiram, you have raised your hand.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you explain again, ma'am?
Sorry,
Can you explain again, ma'am, please?
I'm not getting you.
Can you explain again, ma'am? Not understand.
Acha, again, okay. Okay. So in this question, we have to find out the landfill area which will be required to serve the population of 31,000. So in this question, we have been given the solid waste generation rate per capita, like how much of the waste will be generated per day by one single person. It is 2.9 kg per day per capita. And we have been given the compacted specific weight of the solid waste, which is 475 kg per meter cube. And we have been given the average depth of the compacted solid waste, which will be 6 meter. So to find out the area, first we need to find out how much volume of the waste will be put on. With that will be required to put in the landfill per day. So before that, we will need to find out the generation rate, how much of the solid waste will be generated per day. So we have solved this in the previous question. Like per capita generation waste of solid waste is 2.9 kg per capita per day. We will multiply it with the population size, which is 31,000. And since in the question it is required to find out in tons per day, so we will divide it by 1000 to convert the kg into 1000. And after solving this, we are getting the generation rate of solid waste as 89.9 tons per day. So we have find out the generation rate of the solid waste. Now we will find out how much area will be required. So for that, I have calculated the volume required per day. So we have find out the generation rate, which was 89.9 tons. We will divide it by the compacted specific weight, which is 475 kg per meter cube. And finally, we will get how much volume is generated per day, which is coming out to be 190 meter cube per day. So since specific weight was in kg, so I have multiplied it by 1000 to convert the ton into kg, and the unit will be finally meter cubes per day. So now we have find out the volume. Now we will find out the area. So area required will be, so we have 190 meter cube per day. So divided by height, average height of the compacted waste is 6 meter. I think one part is missing. So in this question, we will be finding the area requirement for the whole year because okay, so we'll multiply it with 365 days. So finally, we will get, after solving this, 1 calculate this. So it's coming out to be 1155.833 meters square per year. So we can find out in hectares by dividing it by 10,000. To convert the meter square into hectare, we will divide it by 10,000. So it will be 1.15 hectare per year. So this much is of land area is required per year for managing the waste for this community. Now we have discussed about landfills. In landfill, we have discussed about landfill leachate production and treatment, and then we have in the current lecture, current week lectures, we have discussed about landfill gas generation. What are the factors which affect it, and how to treat the landfill gas, and then how to recover methane and others from the landfill methane from the landfill gas to you for energy recovery. And then we have we have seen about how to manage the legacy waste which have been dumping in the open sites for years. So bio mining and bio remediation is are the methods which is used. So in biomining, what is done that overall first the larger particles or larger size of the waste are picked, and the remaining waste is screened and divided into various fractions, and depending upon the size and the on the type of the waste, they are sent for different for the various purposes. And the smallest size particle, which is I think less than 6 mm, they are sent they are arranged in the windrows, and they are added with the microbes, and manure, cow dung manure is added along with water for a proper moisture content to maintain. And then when the microbes in these windrows digest, or should say degrade the organic matter, and after, and also these heaps are mixed in every 3 days, 2 to 3 days, and after 20 days again these are degraded, and organic matter is finally degraded, and these are again sieved, and the larger particles are sent for further processing, and the finer particles are screened and sent to the farmers, or sold to the farmers if it does not have very high concentration of heavy metals, and if it meets all the uh, standards from the fertilizer control organization for the heavy metals. If it meets the standard, then it is sold to the farmer and it is applied in the soil. And if it does not, then it is again sent for proper disposal into the landfill. So this was all about week 10. So we will meet on next Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. to discuss about week 11. Also, there are only 2 weeks remaining. We have already covered 10 weeks of the material. Now we will meet on next Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. to discuss about the materials of week 11, and also the questions based on week 11 materials. So thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day. Thank you.